game happening right now. Aiden Mizell will return the kick from Trey Smack. They are ready to go with the orange and blue game. A nice crowd here at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Billy Napier mentioned his third season as the head coach here at Florida. He's made some coaching staff changes. He's made some additions to, obviously, this roster. And the first quarterback we're going to see today is not Graham Mertz, it's DJ Lagway.
Kind of apropos, right? We just talked about him. Gets an opportunity to take the first snap in his first orange and blue game. Like I said before, fans clamoring for what Lagway can bring to this offense.
I don't think you should read anything into this. The orange team won the toss and got the ball first to start the ball game. Jordan Ball in the backfield. DJ Lagway on the run, taking a shot down the field, and that ball is incomplete. Aiden Mizell in coverage intended for, Jakeem Jackson in coverage intended for Mizell. DJ Lagway, the true freshman from Willis High School, Willis, Texas. He was the National Gatorade Player of the Year. 100 touchdown passes in high school, including 58 in his senior season. Lagway trying to make it happen with his feet. Defense was looking for that early whistle, obviously not hitting the quarterback today.
Yeah, something to watch for, right? Offensive line has been made over, looking for a little bit better protection than what Florida gave the quarterbacks last year. The theme in the orange and blue game last year was a lot of sacks, and obviously you'd like to see your quarterback maybe make some of those guys miss in the real game, but today, tag down, draws an early whistle.
And DJ Lagway would tell you he wasn't going to get me down.
No.
To run through that tackle. So a third down coming up for the orange offense, who is wearing white jerseys. Lagway steps up over the middle of the field, and that one is too tall. Intended that time for Marcus Burke. Burke, the junior from Jacksonville. And it's punting time for the orange offense. That's what the fans want to see, though, right? A couple of shots down the field.
Took some shots. You'd like to hit a few of those. I'll tell you what the fans are wanting to see is a little more scoring than last year's orange and blue game. It was an auspicious spring. I thought the offense got better as the season went on last year, but looking to take it to the next level in Graham Mertz's second year in Gainesville.
Hunter Smith will punt it away to Trey Mitchell. Trey Wilson, I beg your pardon. And Trey Wilson with a fair catch at the 28, a 47-yard punt with no return. Graham Mertz
separating out of the shotgun, having more latitude at the line of scrimmage to get to the best play. His football IQ may be one of his best characteristics, and he really utilized that well last year in this offense.
Mertz on the pop pass to Trey Wilson.
Funny, Richard, we talked yesterday to Rob Sale, the offensive coordinator. 61 catches for that guy, Trey Wilson, last year. He goes, probably should have been 161. Now, not a whole lot of returning production from the wide receivers. In fact, the guys that returned from last year only combined for 60 catches. So he outnumbers them alone, but I guarantee you they're going to try to find creative ways to get number 3 the ball this year.
Mertz to the air, down the left side and incomplete. Trying to haul it in with a one-handed catch that time was Khalil Jackson. Jason Marshall in coverage.
You mentioned the downfield throws for the orange team, a shot there for the blue team. And the thing that we've noticed on both sides of the ball defensively have been defenders running in stride with the wide receivers. That's been a focal point this spring. Obviously, the defense has to play much better than they did last year, but playing the ball in the air was a little bit of a Achilles heel for this defense last year. So far, nice job by that secondary, both sides.
It was a young secondary a season ago. Third down play here for Mertz. That's complete across the 40, enough for the first down to keep the drive alive for the blue offense. Jackson on the reception.
Yeah, like Khalil Jackson singled up on that side, uses that big body to shield off the defender, and a lot of trust from Mertz to throw that ball in there and let him use the body to prevent the breakup or even the interception.
Billy Napier talked about complementary football. You see that average starting field position from a year ago in terms of yards to the end zone. And that's not just on the offense. That's the defense and what they were able to keep the other offense from doing. Florida had to earn everything offensively a year ago.
Yeah, you don't necessarily think about that. When you think about poor defensive play, you think about giving up a bunch of points, a bunch of yards. But when you don't create turnovers, it puts your offense in a bad situation. Only 7 takeaways for Florida's defense last year. Been a focal point in the spring, and we talked to Austin Armstrong yesterday. He's like, we've done the same things we've done in years past at other places I've been. It just didn't translate last year to many turnovers.
Austin Armstrong in his second season as the defensive coordinator here at Florida, but has been joined by his football dad, he said, on the staff. Ron Roberts making the transition from Auburn here to Gainesville. That pass complete to Montrell Johnson out of the backfield.
The thing I like about Graham Mertz is that he's very patient, doesn't try to force things, led the SEC in completion percentage last year, and maybe the most important number, not many interceptions, only 3 on the season last year, so very judicious with the football, that time taking what the defense gave him.
Another third down here for the Blue offense, converted on their first third down opportunity. Mertz with a clean pocket in time. Now he's got to scramble. Throws across his body, complete at midfield. Into the Orange defense's territory. That's Trey Wilson, and that is the go-to guy.
You know, it's funny. Last year during fall camp, all I heard about was number 3, making plays in scrimmages, and sometimes you wonder if true freshmen are going to be able to carry that over into the season. He certainly did it that time, kept working after the play broke down. Mertz did a nice job of getting outside of the pocket and letting number 3 uncover.
You mentioned it a second ago, 61 catches, 538 yards, 6 touchdowns a year ago for Trey Wilson. Johnson on the carry out of the backfield. Graham Mertz talked about familiarity. You asked him yesterday about the biggest difference between last spring and this spring, and kind of said everything. But he was kind of swimming and trying to learn a year ago at this time, where he says, now I've got a grasp on the offense, not just for myself, but to be able to teach with teammates.
I think that was the thing that was most surprising to me, is obviously takes over an offense with a new scheme, new language. So it's like coming to a new country and trying to figure out the local language. Now he speaks it very fluently, and he said what it allows him to do is not only play fast at the line of scrimmage, but take some of the young guys under his wing, be able to teach a little bit more. And when I say teach, it's explaining the why. I think as a football player, you're better on the offensive side, but the defensive side too, if you understand the why, not just what you're supposed to do, but why you're doing it.
Third down of this opening drive for the Blue offense, quarterbacked by 6th-year senior Graham Mertz. It's a give to Johnson again. Johnson picks his way through the defense, trying to get to that first down marker, and he's going to be dropped short of the line to game. Grayson Howard, the inside linebacker, comes up and makes the tackle. Sophomore from Jacksonville. They call him Pup Howard. Transferred in from South Carolina. Austin Armstrong said big addition for this defense.
Yeah, huge addition, and I think people have been surprised at how quickly he's acclimated to the change in scheme. A veteran guy that's played in this league before. It's important to go out and get experienced guys, something that this transfer portal season brought to Gainesville, but when you have experience in the SEC, it's even more valuable.
Going forward on 4th down, keeping it on the ground, and that's close. Should be enough for the first down. There is a white jersey that is down on the play and is injured, and that is the one thing that you absolutely want to avoid.
Jackson, Desmond Watson losing significant weight to allow them to not only be fresher and play more snaps, but to be able to be fresh as the season wears on, which I thought last year Jackson wore down quite a bit.
Mertz flushed from the pocket, and he will throw this one incomplete, trying to get it to Trayon Webb out of the backfield. So Johnson getting a break. Trayon Webb, the redshirt freshman from Trinity in Jacksonville. One of the new things that you've got in college football this year is that communication system in the helmet of the quarterback. Asked Billy Napier about that, and he said, man, it's It's crazy to be able to talk directly to my quarterback, get the play in quickly, and perhaps mention something else as they're coming to the line. He thinks it's a game changer.
I love it. I don't know why it took college football so long to adopt this that the NFL's been using for a while. It obviously keeps sign stealing from occurring. But I do think the ability to give keys to the quarterback, particularly DJ Lagway today, a young guy in this offense, to have Coach Napier in his ear to help him direct his eyes to the right part of the field, what he's looking at based upon the play call, I think will benefit him significantly.
So another third down on this drive. 13th play of the drive for the Blue offense. 2 of 3 on third down. They've got a fourth down conversion so far. Webb motions out of the backfield to the top of your screen. Mertz with time.
Smith.
And his pass is caught. Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson once again on the catch for another first down conversion after a gain of 12.
When in doubt, look for Trey Wilson, right? That's what he did last year with Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall passing the torch to Trey Wilson. That time had some pressure off his right side, but I thought Graham Mertz did a nice job of stepping up a little bit, buy him an extra tick and firing the ball in there for a first down.
Khalil Jackson, Trey Wilson, obviously going to be important in the passing game. Ricky Pearsall, who had such a good year a season ago. But also Chimere Dike, the transfer from Wisconsin, a guy who we will keep an eye on. Webb on the carry down to the 10-yard line. Dike and Graham Mertz, teammates at Wisconsin, they've both talked about a trust factor that exists. And they've just kind of been able to pick up where they left off in spring ball.
Yeah, DK mentioned he's caught thousands and thousands of balls from Graham Mertz in his career. Those guys obviously have a little bit of a rapport. Even more so, we hear those guys playing a lot of golf together. Mertz tried to deny that there was much golf being played right now, but I think the links are going to be
Sticks
occupied.
are coming out
They're
soon,
coming
right?
out, no doubt.
On the ground to the left side, and good penetration that time from the front. Cam Jackson back in. He's in on the tackle, so was Sharif Denson.
Sharif Denson playing that star position, one of the most important and versatile positions in defensive football these days. You're playing in that nickel in the slot. You got to be able to set the edge against the run. You got to be able to blitz. You got to be able to cover. So Sharif Denson's a guy that Austin Armstrong said played a lot at the end of the year last season, but wished he would have played him even more. Another young player getting that valuable experience that's going to pay off this season.
Another third down. Blue offense 3 of 4 on this drive on third down plays. Mertz over the middle. That one's tipped into the air and incomplete. Grayson Howard in coverage. Trying to get it to the tight end, Arliss Boardingham.
Nice job by Howard there. Had one-on-one coverage. Looked like Arliss may have had a step on the defender, but Graham Mertz just a little behind him. I think if you had the opportunity to throw it over again, he would have put it out about 2 feet further. May have been a touchdown.
31-yard field goal attempt for Trey Smack. Basically the middle of the field. Blue offense trying to get on the board first in the orange and blue game here at Steve Spurrier Florida Field. The field goal is good, and the blue team strikes first. Fans want touchdowns, not field goals, but you'll take the points.
Just getting warm right now. I thought that was a good drive. They converted some third and fourth down opportunities. Used a lot of the first quarter.
Field goal from Trey Smack. Get our second chance to look at the orange offense who had the ball to start the game. This one's returnable. That is Mizell. Out across the 25. Mizell breaks tackles, and they'll blow it dead, I think. Around the 30-yard. Has openly talked about the fact that he was still being recruited down to the day before signing day. A lot of pressure for him to stay in his home state of Texas. But he said Florida was the place that felt right for me.
A lot of resources in Texas to be able to put pressure on guys to stay in the state. But I think this was a huge get for Coach Napier. The hopes and futures obviously pinned on what Lagway can do, carrying him to the next generation after Mertz moves on. But I think it's a perfect situation for Lagway right now. Gets a chance to come in. He gets to learn not only the offense, but from Graham Mertz himself. And I thought DJ Lagway's father, they said it the best on Twitter, just thanking the Mertz family for Graham Mertz as well for just accepting his son and trying to take him under his wing to teach him.
Nifty move in the backfield there by Jaden Ball. Nice run. Moves the sticks. First down out to the 44-yard line. Graham Mertz talked to us yesterday about his relationship with DJ Lagway as well. As Lagway tries to get to the outside, and he is touched down at midfield. This was the message you were talking about just a second ago from the Lagway family. Derek Lagway Sr. tags Graham Mertz in it. Appreciate all the love you've showed DJ and our family. Nothing but love and respect for you and your family. Again, thank you. Hashtag Go Gators.
How great is that, though, in a day and age where players coming out of high school that are given that much attention want to come in and play right away? I think the family understands that the future is bright for Lagway. The worst thing I think that can happen for young quarterbacks sometimes is being put in situations where they're playing too early.
KD Daniels with the explosive run. Actually, Ball on the carry. Jaden Ball. Gain of 24.
Yeah, a couple nice runs in a row for Ball. And Florida did bring in 2 running backs. Obviously lost Trevor Etienne through the transfer portal. Montrell Johnson will get the majority of the snaps again at the running back position. But I think they have some nice options, including the 2 freshmen, Daniels and Ball.
Ball, the freshman from Atlanta. How about this? Averaged 14 yards per carry in his senior season at Columbia High School. 19 touchdowns in that senior campaign as well.
One thing you've seen through the last couple of recruiting classes for Florida, emphasis on speed and an emphasis on length. This team looks a lot different to me than it did 2 years ago, and certainly the upgrade in speed with Ball being one of those guys has been a difference maker.
Ball gets a break. Now KD Daniels into the backfield, the freshman from West Point, Mississippi.
Gatorade Player of the Year in that state as well. So Florida being able to go into a couple different states outside of Florida and bring in some top players, which I think has made Florida fans excited. You know, the competition of recruiting has become one of the things that gets the fans' juices going in the offseason.
Manny Nunnery makes a play.
Have to learn when you're trying to ascend as a program is how to finish ball games. Florida had opportunities. I think about the Missouri game, chances to get off the field and just couldn't.
DJ Lagway, that's a touchdown to Aiden Mizell. Over the middle, had time. That was the first passing play of the drive, a 22-yard strike.
How about it? The first drive, 3 passes, 3 and out for Florida's offense. That time they ran the ball down the field and came out of the timeout with an opportunity to throw the ball down the middle of the field. Nice job by Mizell. This was one of the 3 freshman receivers that Florida signed last year. Obviously, Trey Wilson has been the most successful so far, but looking for number 11 to kind of take that next step. I was at practice on Thursday, watched him make a contested catch down in the red zone. That would be huge if Florida could start to get a little bit more from him as well as Andy Jean.
Hunter Smith on for the extra point. And it's now the Orange offense in front, 7-3, 7 plays, 70 yards, a little under 3 minutes, capped off by a 22-yard touchdown pass from DJ Lagway to Aiden Mizell. Mizell, speedster, 10.65, 100-yard dash. He was able to find a seam and a strike from Lagway.
Yeah, great throw right there. 2 high safeties with man coverage underneath. Difficult. That's something I think I'd like to see personally a little bit more from the offense. I know the receivers would like to have more chances down the field, but being accurate with the football and minimizing those interceptions, obviously key in every offense. But when you're having to string first downs together like Florida does, that accuracy is even more important.
So we've seen scoring drives from both offenses. We were talking about that relationship between Mertz and Lagway earlier. And Mertz was really singing the praises of Lagway as well. And he reminded him, he said, hey, I've kind of been into a similar spot as you, highly rated coming out of high school, going into a place with a veteran quarterback. He's like, if you got any questions, if there's anything like that I can help with, I'm more than happy to do so.
Yeah, you know, in a lot of quarterback rooms, whether we're talking about college or in the pros, there's typically, you know, a rivalry, a protection of the job. And I think a lot of times those guys don't get as well, but I think having had a quarterback like Mertz have that experience has been beneficial for sure in the perspective of bringing DJ Lagway along.
Jacoby Jackson on the carry. Mertz on the sideline now. That's Clay Millen in at quarterback. A gain of 32 yards for Jackson.
Nice job on the little read option there. You mentioned Clay Millen coming in. He may play quarterback for both sides, but how about Jackson putting together a little burst after he hit that second level?
Originally from Pensacola, transferred in from Coahoma County Community College. That's in the Mississippi Delta. Clarksdale. Ethan Wilson on the tackle. Again, Jacoby Jackson on the carry, and that's another big gain, 15 yards.
Picking up chunks here. Both the blue team now and the orange team last drive making a concerted effort to run the football. A lot of running backs that are kind of vying for some playing time behind Montrell Johnson this year.
This time to the air. Pass is complete to DK. Jemery DK, the transfer from Wisconsin. Honorable mention All Big Ten in the 2022 season. And a big addition for this Florida offense in the receiver room.
Big addition for a number of reasons. Obviously, you know, the relationship between Graham Mertz and DK is huge, but this is a position I think that really needs to step up. I talked about the returning production from last year. 61 catches from Trey Wilson. The rest of the returning players on the Florida roster only had 60. So going out and getting a veteran guy like
balls from Mertz right now back to the ground, and this time quarterback keeps it. That's Clay Millen picking his way down to the 16. They'll mark him at the 18-yard line. Actually, they may mark him at the 19-yard line, and that's going to bring up a fourth down situation. By the way, Billy Napier, the head coach has,
yes,
he's got final authority in these games and sometimes wants to see some situational
You could
things.
see him pointing like he wanted to have an opportunity for the field goal team to come on here. I can promise you it wasn't for the benefit of the defense, because as an offensive-minded coach, the guy calling the plays probably would like to stay on the field a little bit more, win that battle, but having a chance to work on all aspects of the game here in front of a crowd today on the game field is important.
38-yard try from Smack, and he makes another. And that makes it 7-6. And we've got a break on the field. More coming up from the Florida spring game after this.
To see some of these young players who maybe have had a little bit of experience last year show up and play with some confidence. You know, I think overall pretty clean so far, and we want to see more of that.
Yeah, one of the young guys that stepped up and made a play there was Aiden Mizell, part of that threesome that signed last year in the 2023 class. How important is it for young guys like him and maybe a few other guys to step up and give some support there to Trey Wilson in that receiver room?
Yeah, in particular in that room, you know, we need some of those young guys to continue to develop. Aiden's had a great offseason, you know, and I think he was a track guy coming out. I think he's developed nicely. Coach Gonzalez has done a good job with him. You know, he was an elite sprinter, 10.6, 48 quarter. Both parents ran track at the University of Florida. So his receiver game, his skill level has improved, and it's good to see him show up, make a play. That's going to give him some confidence going into the rest of the offseason.
Coach, you've had a chance to watch DJ Lagway throughout the spring, but for Gators fans, this is kind of their first real opportunity to see him. Tell fans a little bit more about him, and particularly in that throw that we saw earlier.
Well, I would say the most impressive thing about him is the character piece. I think his humility and the way he handled all the attention. You know, I think we started recruiting DJ before he became the five-star Gatorade National Player of the Year. And to see him handle the recognition that comes with that, I think it's been awesome to see. His family's impressive. A ton of respect for how the young man that they've raised. But he's a worker. You know, he's got the respect of his teammates because of the detail, the discipline, the work ethic, and he's worked extremely hard going all the way back to January.
Coach, I know there's a few goals every season that you head into spring with. Obviously, one of the focal points had to be improving the defensive side of the ball. Why do you think that group will be better this year?
Well, we've got experience. You know, I think for the first time there, if you look at that group as a whole, a lot of players playing last year, first time they've played, right? And I think they went into this offseason kind of understand what's required in this league to play. you added a few pieces to the puzzle, right? A couple young freshmen that are going to be impactful, and then some portal players, in particular in the back end. So overall, I think the experience piece is important. We also made a couple of changes on the staff, and I think that's going well so far.
Coach, we appreciate your time. We're going to catch up with you a little bit later in the game. Good to see you.
Okay, guys. Thank you all.
Coach.
Billy Napier, head coach with the Gators. I think liking what he has seen so far, but he's also been with this group every day throughout the spring.
He's definitely had a chance to see how this team has evolved. I think even during a 15 practice spring, you can see the growth, particularly in the young players. You go through installation, you see them become a little bit more comfortable. I think all the coaches have kind of talked about the difference in the final 2 weeks of spring practice versus where they were when they started a little over a month ago.
Billy Napier told us one of the things that he likes is the experience. So talking about returning production from a year ago, 68%, 70% on the offensive side, over 41,000 snaps in game action coming back on this team. And that's different from a year ago. Austin Armstrong said, I looked up on the opening defensive possession against Utah, and we had 2 guys on the field that had taken a snap for the Florida Gators.
How about Florida last year had 7 true freshmen playing every single ball game. That's the most in the nation last year. Well, the good thing about playing young guys early is they come back a little bit more experienced the next year. You talked about the total number of snaps they return, but I think defensively is where they're going to benefit the most. So many young guys. You mentioned Jordan Castell earlier in their game 1 at the safety position. 25% of all the defensive snaps last year came from true freshmen, which is crazy to think about, but obviously very challenging as those guys try to acclimate to football in the SEC.
Graham Mertz back in at quarterback for the Blue offense. They put a couple of field goals on the board. The only touchdown has come from the Orange offense on that pass from Lagway to Mizell earlier. This is Trey Wilson on the carry. You know, Chris, there's an interesting dynamic in the football world right now, and it's, are you building a team or are you building a program?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you do both successfully in terms of maintaining culture? And Billy Napier pretty candidly yesterday when we sat down and talked with him, he said, I'd be lying if I called the last 2 years fun, because they weren't. But it feels like it's moving in the right direction, especially with the terms of the roster makeup.
Yeah, I think that building a program is very difficult, right? You bring in guys, you don't know how long you're going to have them. You're having to re-recruit your roster every single day, dealing with the portal. They had a number of losses, but also were able to be prosperous in the portal as well. 33 new faces between the transfer portal guys and the freshmen here that are early enrollees making their debut in the Swamp today. And I think that's part of the trend across the country. Very difficult to know what to expect from year to year with all the turnover.
You don't see his name there, but one of those additions through the portal, Asa Turner, who just broke on that ball and batted it away. He started in the national championship game in January for the Washington Huskies.
Yeah, also played for Will Harris back at Washington, was recruited by Will Harris, who's now the new Florida secondary coach. So when you can get a guy that played in the national championship, that's a 6th-year player, that is a huge benefit, particularly with how many freshmen you had to play at the safety position last year.
50-yard punt by Crawshaw with no return. Jeremy Crawshaw getting the opportunity there. That was the first punt for the Blue offense in the game today. Some key additions on the defensive side. You see Asa Turner's name there, along with Bridges from Oregon. Jameer Grimsley, interesting story. He's classified as a transfer because he went through a few practices with Alabama, but then transferred. He's in his first year of college football.
Yeah, it was a week there with the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban ended up deciding to retire.
Did he?
Kalen, yeah, he did. I don't know if you heard that in the offseason, but yeah, Kalen DeBoer would not let him out of his NIL, so actually is considered a transfer. And a guy that I think, again, we've talked about Florida trying to upgrade length. Jameer Grimsley down there pregame has the length that you want at that corner position. I think between he and Devin Moore, much more potential to be physical with opposing wide receivers with that length.
Lagway back to the air. That's Marcus Burke, the wide receiver. Burke, the redshirt junior, 4th year of the program from Jacksonville, had 6 catches in 7 games last season. What about the tight end spot? We saw one target to Arliss Boardingham earlier in the year. Hayden Hansen, a guy that returns as well and played a lot a season ago. How important in what Florida is trying to do offensively is that tight end position?
It's huge. I mean, the 12 personnel is something that Florida feels very comfortable in. They want to be able to run the football. When you have guys like Boardingham that can give you a little versatility, he's not the greatest blocker. He's more of the H-back kind of position, whereas Hansen's more of the on-the-in line of scrimmage Y. But those guys, particularly the versatility that Boardingham can bring you, being able to split out in a wide receiver position creates matchup issues that the advantage goes to the offense on.
Burke on the carry there. The previous play was Ball, who's had a nice spring game. It was a 15-yard gain, 4 carries for 51 yards so far for Jaden Ball. Full transparency, our scoreboard shows 7-6. That's how we were told they were keeping score. In the stadium, they've given the Orange team an extra field goal, so 10-6 on their scoreboard. You said liberties that exist in the spring game.
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of the starters on the blue team and on the blue offense particularly, so maybe putting them at a little bit of a disadvantage here so the game stays competitive. I don't know. I hadn't heard the formal announcement on that yet.
New set of downs for the Orange team offense. DJ Lagway, the National Gatorade Player of the Year out of Willis High School in Texas. Play action. Lets it fly. What a pretty ball, and what a nice catch. On the reception, Taylor Speardo, the redshirt junior from Franklin, Tennessee, gain of 32.
Yeah, a walk-on wide receiver has a soft spot in my heart. He's one of the 2 guys that was awarded a scholarship, with Khalil Jackson being the other one. But Speardo always has a smile on his face. Watched him this week practice, man. Guy works hard, and he's been able to contribute here the last couple years.
Back to Jordan Ball. So much talk about DJ Lagway. You can look at him and maybe you have questions mechanically about where his release is. But what there is no question about is the way the ball comes out of his hand, and that just tight driving spiral.
Yeah, a little bit of an unconventional release, drops it down a little sidearm, but the ball certainly has some revs on it when it comes out of his hand. The thing I like most about that last throw, he knew he had man coverage. He knew there was no defender over there. Instead of trying to zip it in there, put a little air underneath it and let his receiver run under it.
Third down coming here for the Orange team offense. DJ Lagway has gone the distance. We've seen Graham Mertz sub in and out on the other side. Part of that is they know exactly what they have with Graham Mertz. Over the middle, incomplete.
A little early, yeah.
Flag comes in, trying to get it to Burt. Rackley was in coverage.
Florida having some success on both sides of the ball, taking advantage of the middle of the field. Defenses for both sides leaving that part open, and that time Rackley got there a second early, but it might have been a good thing because he was beat and had the receiver had a step on him. May have been a touchdown. RC, you know what I like most from what I've seen so far from DJ Lagway? Getting in and out of the huddle, getting him to the line of scrimmage. You're not seeing delay of games. You're seeing him be able to manage the offense so far. This is a guy that hadn't been on campus for that long, has only had 14 practices officially under his belt. So being able to see him look like he's in control despite how new he is, I think is something that's very promising for the future.
There's been a lot of talk in this offseason about being more organized. And I think that is maybe encompassing the entire program in terms of game day operation, getting plays in and out, getting guys where they're supposed to be, off the field in terms of who's handling what within the coaching staff. And Billy Napier said we did a really deep self-scout, and we looked at every area of our program, and we made changes where we thought we needed to make changes.
Well, I tell you, it didn't take a deep dive to know that they were disorganized a lot from game 1 at Utah with 2 number 3s on the field, the drill penalty there to throughout the season, managing the clock in late game situations against Arkansas. So they've got to clean things up. They're not good enough to overcome self-inflicted wounds.
Lagway steps out of bounds at the 6-yard line.
That's one of those things right there.
Short.
Defenses can't account for, right? You know Lagway is going to be able to throw the ball. You know he's going to be involved in some of the called quarterback run games and the read option stuff. But when you have a quarterback that can break contain, it really puts pressure on defenses. One, because it limits the ability to play man coverage in the secondary. And that's maybe one of the best things that you can do to help the quarterback is to know what kind of defenses are coming, and that running ability certainly limits what opposing defenses are going to be able to do.
Jaden Baugh back into the game. He gets the handoff, breaks a tackle, trying to get to that first down marker, and he's going to be dropped short. Tackle on the play made by Quincy Ivory off the edge.
Nice pursuit by the Florida, the blue team's defense, and I can't talk enough about how the emphasis of tackling has been repped over and over again this spring. Walt Harris to the point telling his secondary, come hit me. Like when your quarterback has his cleats on, he's out there taking part in some of the contact drills. You can tell that is setting the tone for what's expected on this defense, particularly in the secondary this year.
Another field goal try. This time it's Hunter Smith from 24 yards out, and he snapped that one left. No good, and so no points this time for the. That's the most important rule in this game, especially when it comes to number 15 and number 2. Wide open catch by Trey Wilson. He's out to the 35, 40-yard line. That's a gain of 20 on the first down play.
Yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about the relationship between Ricky Pearsall last year and Trey Wilson. Pearsall really took Wilson under his wing, and I think he benefited supremely from having the opportunity to work with number 1 last year.
How about a touchdown for Trey Wilson? 10-5 end zone, a 60-yard strike. Graham Mertz hit him in stride. That is 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown for Trey Wilson.
It was pretty apropos that I was talking about Ricky Pearsall, because what you saw from Trey Wilson right there was a Ricky Pearsall-esque route at the top. Set the underneath coverage up by giving him a little corner nod. Watch him set him up to the corner, got him to jump, and created separation to let him split the middle of the field.
Came away from our meeting with Graham Mertz yesterday really impressed. And one of the things that was really interesting, you hear about quarterbacks talking to other quarterbacks about things that they are looking for.
And making it hard for him to know what's coming because of the way they disguise things.
Obviously, Florida, a place with a rich quarterback tradition, and the expectations for that position are a little high. You think about some of the greats, whether it's Danny Werfel that you played with, or Steve Spurrier, or certainly Tim Tebow. The quarterback was unquestionably on those teams the leader. I thought watching just pregame warm-ups today, there's no question that this is Graham Mertz's football team, and his teammates respond to it.
Yeah, he came in last year and immediately gained the respect of his teammates. He was a leader last year from day one. I think the people respected around him the way that he went to work, the way that he went into the playbook to try to get the terminology and the scheme down, the way that he was relentless in his throwing on the field and trying to get better and better. I'll tell you what, he earned the respect of everybody. Offensive players, defensive players, the fans last year against Missouri. 3rd down, scrambles, makes the play, ended up fracturing his collarbone, stays in for another couple plays. The toughness and desire to win, if you have the rest of the players playing with that around him, this Florida team is going to be much improved.
And who knows, in a couple of years we could be talking about DJ Lagway in the very same way. He scrambles out of bounds to stop the clock with 1:31. So we're running clock until we get to the last couple of minutes of the second quarter and the fourth quarter.
Or until the head coach wants to see something different, and then we can adjust there on the fly as well.
As immediately the clock starts to run again. So, however you want to go with it. Minute 15 left in this opening half. Blue team has taken the lead with the 60-yard touchdown pass from Mertz to Wilson. Now Lagway on the run, wide open receiver, and that ball is caught. Officials on the far sideline signaling a catch for Marcus Burke, 24 yards on the play.
Marcus Burke made some big plays early in the season against Utah in that week 1 opener, able to secure the catch right there. He's a guy that would certainly help that wide receiver core kind of evolve a little bit if he could be a little more consistent than he was last season.
Lagway. And whistles blow the play dead. He was trying to get to the outside and did so. But with the pressure coming, they blow it dead at the 44-yard line.
This is an opportunity right here for the young players on that Orange team to learn situational football, right? 40 seconds left in the half. They get the timeout to stop the clock, but Florida repped 2-minute offense on Thursday at practice over and over again. So this is a great chance for Lagway to kind of get his feet wet operating this offense in this tempo late in the first half.
Timeout taken by the Orange team on the offensive side. Staff changes. It's something that
those two guys working together, I think, is certainly going to benefit Florida's defense this year.
Had worked together previously and told us in the 5 years where they were not on staff together, Austin Armstrong told us he and Ron Roberts still talked 2 or 3 times a week. How about another completion over the middle all the way down to the 11-yard line. That's Marcus Burke again. He's having a big day.
That is a ridiculously difficult catch. Going down, trying to catch the football by your ankles, being able to stay up and get the yards after the catch. Ideally, obviously, you want that ball at your chest, but a difficult pass to go down and catch that he made look easy.
Lagway throws that one into the turf. The previous game was 35 yards. They spotted it at the 10. So
now here's what we got to do. We got to coach Burke up on not coming out in the red zone. As a receiver, you never want to give up opportunities to catch touchdowns. So a young guy trying to learn a little bit here. You don't give anybody else your reps down at this part of the field.
Do you get to choose when you come out of the game?
He was tapping out like he was tired.
Okay.
I promise you, I ain't ever going to be tired down inside the 20.
You wonder how you caught all those touchdowns.
No, I wasn't catching 50-yard bombs. I was catching 20-yard touchdowns.
Second and goal from the 10, 21 seconds left in the quarter. Lagway flushed with his feet, goes out of bounds at the 5. So a third and goal coming for the Orange offense. Give me a first half grade on DJ Lagway.
I think he looked good. I mentioned before his control of the offense. They played fairly clean on that side of the ball. Hadn't made any big mistakes. Had some early incompletions, but I think he's found a little bit of a rhythm. Certainly operating in the middle of the field looks like he's most comfortable today.
Orange team offense takes a timeout.
1 of 4 in the first couple series, and since then he's hit all 4 of his passes for 85 yards.
5 of 8 in the ball game. You asked Billy Napier about play calling, and it feels like it's a topic in a lot of different places when you have an offensive head coach that has come up and probably has that opportunity to be a head coach because of his play calling, but guys giving up that responsibility because there's so many other things that are on their plate as well. He says, I think I can handle it all, and he's delegating so that he can.
Think about last year. It was kind of the topic du jour, right? You saw Hugh Freeze pass along the play calling duties to Philip Montgomery at Auburn. You saw Eli Drinkwitz do the same thing to Kirby Moore at Missouri. It's worked with mixed results, right? It's been the best thing for Missouri. Drink talks about how much it's freed him up to really be the CEO and connect with a lot more of the defenders on a different level. Whereas Hugh Freeze, it did not work. In fact, you let Philip Montgomery go. You take play calling duties back over along with Derek Nix, who you add as your offensive coordinator. So I would find it hard to do as a guy that kind of cuts his teeth coaching, works his way up, calling plays, being an offensive-minded guy. To give that up and put your fate in somebody else's hands is difficult to do. I played for a guy in Coach Spurrier that I never could have imagined passing those play calling duties along, but I think the game has evolved a lot since I've played. All the responsibilities that a head coach has on his plate and dealing with not only the transfer portal, but maintaining rosters and keeping everybody happy is very difficult to do these days.
You see the numbers for the Gators offense a year ago. 28 points a game, 150 on the ground, 260 through the air. And in today's modern day offense, you really would expect those numbers to be up a little bit from where they are.
Yeah, you like to see a little bit more production there. I talked earlier, love to see more shots down the field with the offense this year, particularly a guy like Trey Wilson. We saw it last drive, saw the big touchdown over the top. So having some of those big plays certainly will help this offense and maybe open up the run game too.
Play action, touchdown. Taylor Spierto in the back of the end zone hauls it in. That is the second touchdown pass for DJ Lagway.
Yeah, second touchdown pass of the day and second over the middle of the field again. Looks like he's really comfortable operating in that part of the field against Florida's defense, the blue team's defense today. Good job by Spierto going up and catching the ball with his hands there as well.
Spierto was a walk-on back in 2021. 2 catches in 13 career games. For a team that's looking to add depth at wide receiver, perhaps can see his role continue to grow in this Florida offense.
That's what I love about the spring game. It's an opportunity to show that you're ready to contribute next fall. A young player that maybe hadn't had an opportunity. Spierto getting an opportunity here today to make some big plays. His second catch, that one a big one for a touchdown.
Spring transfer portal close as well, and I think that is a position group where Florida's going to be looking hard to see if there are guys that fit what they're trying to do.
I'm glad you said that because I think there is a desire to add more in the wide receiver room, but it's not a desperation, right? We're going to go out and get a right guy that fits in terms of our offensive needs and adjusting to our scheme, but also somebody that's going to acquiesce to the culture of the locker room. I think that's one of the things that the coaching staff is the most proud of in their 3 seasons here now, being able to really change the culture, get guys in that buy in, and are certainly not only good players, but are good community folks as well.
Billy Napier said their focus in the transfer portal has been older guys with experience. He said we spent 2 years remaking the roster and are now really focused on guys that fit. And that means a lot of things, right? Fit offensive philosophy, fit culture, fit in the locker room.
It's interesting, too, that Billy Napier comes from a little bit of a hybrid upbringing, right? Had time at Clemson with Dabo Swinney, but also in that Alabama Nick Saban tree. So I think he mentioned evaluating talent is one of the things that he took from Coach Saban that he's been able to implement here. And I think they've done a great job the last couple of years of going out, identifying talent through the transfer portal. Whether you're talking about Ricky Pearsall 2 years ago, you're talking about Graham Mertz last year, projecting them to be guys that fit into the schemes offensively, defensively, what they're running has really been one of the strengths of this team so far.
Orange offense led by DJ Lagway's 2 touchdown passes. Jaden Ball with 7 carries for 60 yards. Graham Mertz 8 of 13, 123 yards and a touchdown. And what a day so far for Trey Wilson and the Blue offense. 6 catches for 111 yards. 7 seconds until the halftime break. And they put it on the ground. I thought after the long break that meant we had something coming.
I was going to say, any chance we get some spring boo birds out here, maybe prematurely getting upset by the play calling?
Jacoby Jackson on the carry, and that takes us to the halftime break. 10-0 record season ago, also ran track. First place 60-meter dash at the Florida Indoor Championships. About a 6'7", 60-meter. Graham Mertz in at quarterback. It's Jacoby Jackson with him in the backfield, and Jackson play action instead of throw. And that ball is complete to Khalil Jackson.
We saw Florida have some success running the football. I keep saying Florida. The blue team, the orange team, both of them ran the football really well, but when you can run the football, it opens up opportunities in the early down sequences to be able to take advantage of that play action and what it does to suck up the defense. That time, Khalil Jackson doing a nice job of getting some separation on the over route.
Walking into the ballpark earlier today, people had their jokes queued up. Like, hey, you think the Gators are going to win?
That's always the go-to spring.
That's the spring game joke.
Particularly when you had such a difficult time down the stretch getting a win. I think Florida fans will take anything they can get at this point.
1st and 15, though, after a flag. So it wipes the gain off the board. Ertz incomplete, trying to get that one to Trey Wilson. Bridges in coverage there.
Good to see Bridges having an opportunity to play today for Florida. One of those big 3 transfers in the secondary that they were able to go out and get. Played at Oregon last season. Got some more of that length that we talked about. Florida looking to upgrade. Between Asa Turner from Washington, you get Douglas from Tulane and Bridges from Oregon. It's a lot of snaps that those guys have experienced in college football that they bring to this Florida defense.
Triquez Bridges played in every game. This one complete. That's Khalil Jackson down the sideline. Finally shoved out of bounds by Devin Moore, but he gets all the way down to the 25. That's good for a gain of 50.
Yeah, nice to see Jackson making another catch on the over route there. It's a guy that's from right here in Gainesville. I played with his father in high school. I played with his father and uncle at Florida. And a nice pass there, dropping it into Jackson, who a legacy, 3rd generation Florida football player.
On the ground, this one blown up in the backfield. That was Tyreek Sapp. Sapp stepping in and making a play.
Chance to grow up with both Willie Jackson Jr. and Terry Jackson, Khalil's uncle. So a great history of football playing here for the Gators, for the Jackson family.
Toward the end zone, incomplete. Trying to get it to DK. And he goes into the hedges. Is it okay to call him hedges here?
You can call them hedges here. They're not as prominent as the ones at Sanford Stadium or at Jordan-Hare, but ran out of room back there. Both guys caught a little bit of the hedges.
I guess we could go with manicured boxwoods if you wanted to.
Little too much botany verbiage there for me. I'm not
Doesn't
sure.
quite roll off the tongue quite like hedges, huh? So a 3rd down play coming up here. Ertz with Webb in the backfield. He swings it to Webb out of the backfield, caught and knocked out of bounds just shy of the 20-yard line by Teddy Foster.
You know what I respect about Billy Napier? Even though he's an offensive guy, he doesn't set up the spring game for the benefit of the offense. That time you saw Asa Turner blitzing from the secondary. Been a lot of different looks that they've given these opposing quarterbacks today. Mertz saw it, got it to the flat, but the Orange defense did a nice job of rallying to the football and preventing the conversion of that 3rd down try.
Trey Smack's already made a couple of field goals in the game. This one from 39 yards, just inside the left hash. Smack's kick splits the uprights and puts 3 more on the board for the blue team. Makes it a 1-point game with 10-15. Added responsibility for him.
Yeah, no, I think Trey benefited from having an opportunity to watch Ricky Pearsall go about his business the right way. You know, Trey wasn't a mid-year player, right? So he got here late May, early June, and he hit the ground running. It was very evident early that he was going to be one of our more explosive players. So he's benefited from seeing a veteran player and his approach. I think Ricky did a good job leading there. It kind of set the pace for that room. And Trey has evolved this offseason. I think he's doing that for the room now, right? He's got great practice habits. I thought it was the best player we signed in that class, and I think he's proven that so far.
Coach, you're one of the few coaches that still has a traditional spring game. Why is it important for you guys to put these guys in this position to replicate a game as much as you guys do?
Well, I think for a lot of your young players, this is a chance to simulate the game so they're more prepared for some of those critical games that we'll have next year. You know, when you're dependent on maybe some portal players and some rookies, I think just kind of getting the butterflies out of the way, and we go through all of our processes to prepare for a game. I think it can be beneficial. And we manage the players that have a ton of experience. Montrell Johnson's played a lot of football. There's certain players out here today that are veteran, that are proven, that maybe won't play, and they're on a pitch count. So I just think there's benefit from a process standpoint. I think it gets them ready for what we all know is a challenge in the fall.
Coach, last thing for you. You mentioned transfers, a bunch of new faces on this team. How important is it to have them here for this spring period so that, as you said a second ago, they can kind of hit the ground running?
Yeah, I think in particular for us, with where we're at as a program, we are still building a roster that can be a contender, right? So I think we had some glaring issues from a depth perspective on our team last year. And we've been able to add not only talent and traits, but I think this year in the portal, we took approach, what is the extra dimension that these players add to the team? The leadership, the character component, can they get along? Every player that we brought in, we got them around our team. And we got feedback from our players, hey, does this guy fit? Will he help grow the culture that we want here? And I think it's one of the areas where we did a really good job in this cycle.
I know you want to get back to coaching. Billy, thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Billy Napier, head coach in his third season here with the Florida Gators. I mentioned to him before we talked earlier, I said, great crowd today. That was kind of in a break. He goes, it's the University of Florida. What do you expect? Our fans live for this.
It's a busy Saturday here in Gainesville. Not only do you have the spring game going on, the Florida relays are taking place right over across the street, and then you have Florida baseball taking on South Carolina in game 2 of the 3-game series. So beautiful weather to be outside, and I would have expected anything less than a crowd this size.
It's thinned out a little bit in the second half. DJ Lagway on the run. That pass is complete. He's got TJ Abrams on the catch. Good enough for a first down.
Both teams using a lot of that play-action pass, getting the quarterback outside. I love what that does for a quarterback, to give him a little bit of an angle, the pressure that it puts on a defense, the bind that it puts the underneath linebackers and safeties on, coming up to run support. That's the kind of success you can have with the play action when you're able to run the football the way that Florida did on both orange and blue team in the first half.
Chris, gain of 20 on that play. That's the 5th completion for DJ Lagway of 20 yards or more.
Yeah, we talked about being able to have more chunk plays in the passing game. I thought both Mertz and Lagway so far have had some success.
A little razzle-dazzle, but Lagway touchdown in the backfield. Billy Napier pointing to the spot where he wants the ball to go. That's a loss of 12 on the play, and defended well.
Defended well. You got to give Florida, the blue team defense. I keep saying Florida. I'm used to seeing the Gators there in those blues, but I think the thing that I've noticed from Florida's defensive line on both sides, on the orange and the blue team, is playing with a little bit more discipline. You're seeing a bunch of different guys get a chance to get reps and cycle through. I think that's one of the most important parts of this team to upgrade from last year. And obviously the addition of Gerald Chapman, the new defensive line coach, I think has been beneficial to Florida's defense this spring.
And 2 of his defensive linemen were involved in kind of blowing that last play up. Mekhi Barrow from Atlanta, who is a freshman, and Joey Slackman, who is anything but a freshman. He's a grad, transferred in from the Ivy League. Highly decorated player in the Ivy League at Penn.
Defensive player of the year in that conference. And he's not a guy that comes in and necessarily is the biggest or the most athletic guy in your defense. He adds some depth, but I think the most important thing is he adds the experience and leadership that's kind of been the theme for Florida in the transfer portal this year. Coaches all talked about how people have gravitated to Slackman in the locker room, so a nice addition for Florida's defense.
Lagway looking for another one of those big completions. He gets this one to Green for a gain of 11, so that takes it from 2nd and 27 to 3rd and 16. Brian Green on the catch. Brian Green, a redshirt freshman from Jacksonville, Florida. Went to Orange Park. About 90 miles up the road?
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah, about an hour and 20 minutes away, probably.
3rd and 16 here for Lagway, and the Orange offense steps up in the pocket, and he throws an interception. That one's picked off by Manny Nunnery. We mentioned his name earlier, the Houston transfer. Nunnery making a big play there for the Blue defense.
First big mistake by DJ Lagway today. You talked about the down and distance, wanting to make a play on third down. Sometimes it's better to punt the football than try to force it. That time did not see the underneath coverage there from Nunnery.
Lagway, or excuse me.
Oh, I tell you what, Chris was an amazing receiver, and I'm just so happy for him now with all the success broadcasting, and glad to be on with you guys.
I'm glad you clarified there, Dan. Thank you for that. But it's funny, man. You and I played in such big games out here, but today, the way the weather is, it just kind of reminds me of the spring games that we took part in early in our career. What comes to mind when you think about some of the early orange and blue games that you played in?
Well, I mean, today what reminds me of is the show of fan support. I mean, this is really impressive to me to see this many folks here cheering the game. You know, something else that this reminds me of is we've seen some long passes that were completed, which is great to see as a Florida Gator, getting the ball down the field a little more like we used to. You know, you never knew what would happen in the spring game, but we just loved it.
Danny, you spent a lot of time with both Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway. What is your impression of those two quarterbacks and the relationship that they have as well?
Yeah, I tell you what, I think we have the best quarterback room perhaps in the country. I am a huge fan of Graham Mertz. I think he is a great leader. I think he's a great quarterback, and being in his second season in this system is just going to do wonders for him. And then you add to that, you know, DJ Lagway, you know, player of the year, all this incredible talent, who also I've gotten to know is just an incredibly fine young man, great teammate, very humble. And so I think he's willing to learn and grow. So it's a perfect scenario for him to learn and grow. I think the two of them together will be a great combo, kind of like the Chris Leak, Tim Tebow first year. And I'm really, really excited about both these guys.
Visiting on the sideline with Danny Werfel, you saw Jamari Lyons blow that last play up for the Orange defensive line. Danny, you mentioned second year in the system for Graham Mertz. How big a difference is there year one to year two?
Well, I think in any system that's a big deal. You know, when you get more comfortable with any offense, that makes a significant difference. However, I would say it's even bigger here. This offense, to me, is a very sophisticated offense for a quarterback to run. There's so many checks and alignments and all these different things. And so I think it really takes a bit before all that becomes second nature. And, you know, you don't want to be thinking about shifts and motions when you're playing quarterback. You really want to be figuring out how am I going to get this linebacker to lean this way so I can thread the needle on this throw. That's where your mind should be. And I think he's really comfortable with that. And, of course, you know, if you get a personal foul for pass interference like we just had, that can help.
Danny, we're heading into year 3 of this coach's staff's tenure. You've been around the program a lot. I know there's an award, the Danny Werfel, Gator-made Danny Werfel Man of the Month. What is your take on how this roster has been constructed and the overall culture of the program right now?
Well, I think one of Coach Napier's strengths is being a culture builder. I really like the things that he's very intentional about. Everything is very intentional. Oh, my, that was quite a play. Crawled all over his back and made the catch. Hate to see a quarterback get an interception, but that was pretty impressive. But I think, you know, Napier's this incredible culture builder. I think it's really hard now in these days where every year you're kind of recruiting your own team to not leave. But I think he's doing a great job of putting that together. And I like our crew. I like the energy that they've had when I've been around. I like the leadership that we have this year. You know, schedule's pretty stinky. So that's going to be tough on the results side, but I think from developing the program, we made a lot of great strides.
Danny, you mentioned you don't like to see quarterbacks throw interceptions, but I think you, just like me and every other Florida guy, would like to see a little bit more from the Florida defense. Only 3 interceptions last year. Nice to see Sharif Denson get that opportunity, RC, to get an interception here. The second interception in as many possessions.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, our defense started the year, our first few games strong, very promising. I thought that was going to be a big strength of our team last year, but that obviously didn't happen. So if we can upgrade that, get a few more turnovers like we just saw, that could lead to a lot of great success this year. Good point, Chris Durham.
Danny, got to ask you about wide receivers as well. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall was such a huge part of the offense, but we saw Trey Wilson kind of emerge a season ago as a true freshman. He's had a big day today in the orange and blue game. Just a thought that you have on Trey Wilson and kind of watching his play.
Man, he's an electric player. He's really hard to cover. Once he gets the ball, he's hard to get down, so he can do so many things. He's the type of player that defenses have to know where he is, and they have to account for him, which messes things up a lot with the numbers. I think what we're trying to find out this year on the Gator team is do we have another guy that can move into that spot? I think we got a lot of really good players at the position, but is there anybody else that's going to emerge that's going to make defenses a little concerned about what's happening? I do want to do a quick shout out to Jackson, obviously as another son of Willie Jackson. I just love watching Khalil. Every time the ball's near him, that kid has a way of catching it, and that's a pretty special thing.
Danny, you've not been involved just with Florida, but also nationally on the college football scene with the Danny Werfel Man of the Year Award. What has that meant for you in getting to be involved with college football players all across the country?
Well, it's really special on our end because our award, the Werfel Trophy, is not for like touchdowns or tackles or yards. It's for community service. So we're getting to nominate and to honor young men that are doing great things in their communities and to get to meet them and to hear their stories. And I mean, last night, my wife in Atlanta had dinner, my daughter with the young man who's not young anymore. He won the Werfel Trophy 18 years ago, Joel Penton from Ohio State. And he's doing some work all over the country now, LifeWise Academy, that's incredible. And they were in Atlanta, so just the friendships is really special.
You're celebrating Ohio State guys. I think Ladd McConkey won it. You got to forget that, how we feel about those guys. But I'll say this. I know you're passionate about Florida football. You're passionate about the community service you just talked about. You're passionate about pickleball. You were up early this morning to go play. How'd you do, man? I need a report on the pickleball.
I have learned to love pickleball like a lot of people in the country, and playing a lot, enjoying it. It's a big part of how we raise money with the foundation now. And the University of Florida club pickleball team hosted a big tournament this morning. They had teams of alumni come back, play against the teams of the students. A lot of people playing. And I'm still a little salty, Chris. We got bronze, so we at least took a medal, but it's not the big one.
That's not like you, Danny.
Yeah, it's all right, Chris.
I know Florida-Georgia's the big rivalry, but pickleball versus tennis seems to be a budding rivalry as well.
This dude is all about it, I'll tell you what.
Both sports are great. I think it takes a while for tennis players to make the transition because they're a little hesitant. But in my opinion, it's a much better sport. It's more exciting. More people can play and enjoy it. And there's a little more dopamine rushes when people are trying to hit you with the ball. It's like a little sword fight or something.
That one's incomplete over on the far sideline. Danny, really appreciate you stopping by. Continued success in all of the work that you're doing off the field, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Danny Werfel, one of 3 Heisman Trophy winners here at the University of Florida, alongside his former coach Steve Spurrier and Tim Tebow, who would follow. 10,875 passing yards, 114 touchdown passes.
It's not bad, right?
Not bad.
Yeah.
DJ Lagway leading the Orange offense. Quick throw out to the far sideline. And that's Fierto with another catch. He's had a big day, has a touchdown reception.
I think in going back and talking about Danny, and Coach Spurrier used to talk about this all the time, he wasn't necessarily the guy that would impress you in practice, didn't have the strongest arm, wasn't the most physically gifted, but somehow just had a way of making plays when the lights came on. And I think going back to what we talked to Coach Napier about, the important thing to me, playing in the swamp here, putting on the game uniforms, replicating a game, you get to see guys that can step up. And there's a lot of guys that are going to be counted on of this Florida team that you want to know that can trust. You can trust them when you get into the ball game. So I love the fact that they still continue to make this more of a competitive event than a lot of other schools in the SEC are. And I just think back to my growth during some of the springs that certainly, I think, caught the eye of the coaches and allowed me to feel confident that I was ready to play as I got older.
We touched on it earlier. This defensive line is a group that needed to improve. We'll get into it some in the fourth quarter. The addition of Gerald Chapman, what he has meant for this defensive line, and some pressure that they have put on in this game, especially here in the third quarter. The spring game as we go to the fourth quarter. How about a 52-yard field goal try for Hunter Smith as we open this fourth quarter? Get enough, hooked it to the left. Don't want to do that on number 2 at Augusta. You'll end up where Tiger Woods did on Thursday afternoon, down by the creek amongst the trees and having to hit a left-handed shot.
Not ideal.
So the opening play of the fourth quarter is a missed field goal. Alongside Chris Doering, Richard Cross with you. Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Steve Spurrier, Florida Field. You live in the Gainesville area, Chris. Do you feel a sense of excitement locally going into this 2024 season? Is it anticipation, nervous energy? How would you describe it?
I think there's some cautious optimism. I mean, Florida has not been where Florida fans typically expected them to be in a while, and so just getting back to bowl eligibility is important. Danny mentioned the difficult schedule that Florida plays next year, but I think the roster seems to have been upgraded from a talent perspective. You get back Graham Mertz, who I think was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC last year, and everybody kind of reinvigorated by the thoughts of the future with DJ Lagway, and today has done nothing to douse that optimism. So I do think there's some cautious optimism, but Florida fans feeling a little burned, I think, the last few seasons.
Montrell Johnson in the game right now. Limited action for him today. You heard Billy Napier say earlier with some of the veterans, we know what we've got, some load management there. We expect this to be the last drive today for Graham Mertz as well. Johnson on the carry across the 40 down to the 37-yard line, close to a first down. Up 3rd and short.
I bet you Florida right here, after they convert, or the blue team with the offense converting, I bet you Graham Mertz lobbies for a shot. After throwing that interception in the last possession, wanting to finish off, knowing that he doesn't have a whole lot of snaps back in this ball game, I bet they take a shot after moving the chains.
A little bit different style offensively for this Florida team. You don't see a ton of teams that huddle the way they do.
I think being able to change speeds is important now, when you can keep defenses off with the change in rhythm.
Fake the handoff on the end around, give it to Johnson, but that one is blown up by L.J. McCray. Sharif Denson was there as well. McCray, the freshman from mainland Florida.
L.J. McCray just looks different. I was at practice on Thursday. This dude is a beast, and to think about him playing high school football last year, that certainly was not a fair fight for a lot of the guys at that level, but he's going to be counted on a lot this year. I don't think you could have 2 better representations of this recruiting class that Florida just signed in 2024 than the 5-star quarterback, TJ Lagway, and the 5-star defender there in L.J. McCray.
We had multiple coaches refer to him as a freak. You got to be careful about throwing that term around here because the original freak, Javon Curse, was a Gator, but physically he is special.
Yeah, sets the bar pretty high when you talk about the freak, and that teammate of mine definitely comes to mind. Javon Curse, a special player, not only here but in the NFL for a long time.
59-yard punt into the end zone, so a touchback. The Orange team offense back out onto the field, and perhaps a new quarterback coming into the game. I think Clay Millen is over there with the Orange team huddle. Clay Millen, the redshirt junior from Washington, transfer in from Colorado State. And you see Austin Armstrong there on the field. I think probably pleased with the job his defense has done, especially in the second half. Graham Mertz joins us now, the quarterback for the Gators coming into his second year. Graham, when we got to visit with you yesterday, and certainly appreciate your time, I felt a lot of excitement for you about this team and where 2024 could be headed.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm juiced up. I mean, I think you look out here, you see guys competing, guys flying around. Like you said, you're just talking about the defense, but I mean, they're doing a great job of playing sound football, making us be honest, run the ball in the middle, and they're filling the gaps. So they're playing really good across the board.
Graham, I thought we were going to see you take another shot there after the interception, the previous possession.
There's some more shots coming. The game, we still got 11:55.
Are you going to go back in?
I'm not getting out of this thing, man.
No, we were told you were done.
No, I'm having fun. I'm having fun.
All right, do me a favor. Give me some sort of sign when you're about to take a shot, because I want to be zoned in. All right?
All right, I'll think of something.
All right, what do you think overall about your play so far today? The connection between you and Trey Wilson seems second nature.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously want to do more. I mean, I think that we've just been a little inconsistent on offense. Not our best day so far, but I mean, all I can do is finish. I mean, it's 16-17. I know the guys on that sideline want to win. They're competitive. They want some J's, so we're gonna let it rip.
Is that what's on the line? Is
oh yeah,
Jordan?
man. There's a nice dinner. You either get a nice dinner, or you get a little hot dog and bean combo, which you just don't want. Then you get a pair of J's. So it's competitive, man. And the guys just love ball.
Graham, we thought we were hanging out with you for the fourth quarter. We didn't know you were going to keep playing. We appreciate you stopping by. Good catching up. Thanks so much for the time yesterday, and all the best.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
we're having fun out here today. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Graham Mertz. You ever heard anybody more excited about playing in a spring game?
The dude's excited just to be around his teammates. You know, I think that the thing that was most impressive to me yesterday was his desire to help everybody around him learn. And with a team that's as young as Florida is, with as much youth at the receiver position specifically, I think the more snaps that he can get with those guys, the better.
Second down coming up here for the Orange offense with Clay Millen in the game. Certainly good to get a transfer in addition to that quarterback room from a guy that's got some experience.
You can never have enough experience at the quarterback spot. I mean, think about last year, late in the season against Missouri. You have Mertz go down. You got to go to a young player that did some nice things at times, but at the end of the day, it's the most important position in all of sports, and the more depth of talent that you can have there, the better. And I thought Danny made a pretty strong statement when he said that Florida's quarterback room was the best in the country. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think they got a couple good ones for sure.
Did he have the orange and blue glasses on when he was
I started
that?
trying to think, like, who else would be in that mix? We could start in the conference here. I mean, Georgia's probably got a pretty good room. Alabama behind Milroe. Not sure what they got this year.
Question marks there.
I mean, they recruit that position really well year in and year out.
Pretty good room at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, very good room. That's a good point.
Quarterback play this year, I know we talked about it some at halftime. With some of the guys coming back, you pointed to the fact that a year ago, there were a lot of question marks in a lot of places with not a ton of experience coming back. And then this year you look up, part of it with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas. Certainly you add Quinn Ewers into that. Brady Cook had a big season at Missouri, and Jackson Dart, third-year starter this season for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Connor Wegman, a guy that season was cut short last year with an injury at Auburn. I think that'll be an interesting dynamic there in College Station. You know, you have Texas coming in. I felt that A&M maybe didn't take advantage of some of the momentum they had after Johnny Football won the Heisman there, but cannot wait. I cannot wait to watch Texas and Texas A&M re-spark that great rivalry that we used to watch on Thanksgiving night so many years.
Clay Millen's dad, Hugh, was a quarterback at the University of Washington and spent 7 years in the NFL. On the ground, and a big run for the Orange offense down inside the 20-yard line. That's Anthony Rubio on the carry. Rubio a walk-on, getting some action here. 16 yards and a first down for the Orange offense.
Some of these guys, this may be the only action they ever get in front of crowds, so it's a fun opportunity. There's a number of guys that I've played with over the years that were walk-on guys that had opportunities to make plays here that ended up being something that springboarded them into opportunities they got a chance to play a little bit more in the fall. So it's fun to see the benches get a chance to empty late in these spring games.
This time a tackle behind the line, so a loss on first down. Quincy Ivory with another tackle. Ivory plays that edge position. That's part of that defensive line group that we were talking about at the end of the third quarter. That is under the direction of Gerald Chapman, in addition to this coaching staff working with the defensive linemen. Been a lot of stories written about Gerald Chapman coming in and trying to kind of change the way that D-line plays.
Yeah, you know, I think he's brought a level of intensity and accountability to that position. a mild-mannered guy. You know, anybody I talk to says, man, you would not expect him, knowing him, to be the kind of coach that he is, loud, boisterous, calling guys out. I think that's what these guys need, is to be held a little bit more accountable. And I think that's kind of the overall theme, RC. Like, when you look at how difficult it is to manage rosters, to manage kids that, they get their feelings hurt, they're going to jump in the transfer portal. Coach Napier mentioned us yesterday. We're going to get these guys in here. We're getting guys that want to be here, and then we're going to coach them hard, which I don't know that a lot of coaches are willing to go out and do. And you've already seen some attrition the last couple years through the transfer portal. But you know, I like the approach to bringing accountability as a whole from this staff to these players.
See some of the guys returning. Cam Jackson, who was banged up early in the ball game, but has been able to come back and play well. Spencer Umami-Ellen, one of the transfers out from Florida. Had certainly a productive season a year ago. One of the things that Austin Armstrong talked about was, with a little more depth on the defensive line, they're going to be able to spend more time in even front and be multiple up front in a way that he didn't feel like they were able to a year ago.
Yeah, when you have youth and you're thin, that limits what you're able to do. And this Florida defense typically likes to run a lot of different things. They like to be able to present a lot of different pictures for the opposing quarterback. And I think the experience that Florida has from last year's team, along with the guys they brought in through the portal, is going to give them an opportunity to present much more for opposing offenses to have to prepare for.
The dreaded doink, 38-yard field goal try from Hunter Smith. Hits the left upright, so it remains a 1-point game, giving perhaps the blue offense a chance to kick a field goal to win this one at the buzzer.
I didn't realize we were playing for Jays. Now, Graham Mertz told us.
So you're saying price of poker went up?
There's no question about it. If you're playing for steak versus beans and franks versus Jordans, I mean, I think the competitive level goes up about 7 notches. No doubt Graham was going back in there right after.
I was actually interested to see if, they shut him down and say, sorry, you've done enough. But he won that battle.
It's not like he's taking hits today. So
That's
he
true.
can stand back there and throw the ball around, put on a show. And would you bet against the blue offense at this point?
No.
4 minutes, 42 seconds left. So much for the clock running, too, until we get to the late game situation.
Well, change of possession, they've stopped it. We got that. Flag comes in. Mertz throws it away. That was about 8 rows up. That's a great catch in the stands on the opposite sideline from where we are.
Did a nice job of securing the ball. But I'll say this. You mentioned the flag being thrown. One of the important things, stay healthy during spring games, and let's just have a clean, penalty-free afternoon. I thought for the most part there is that catch.
10-yard penalty.
Nice job there. But I think they've done a nice job of playing cleanly for the most part today.
He had to give the football back, though. So the blue offense in a bit of a hole here. They'll have 2nd and 20 from the 10-yard line. 1st and 20, beg your pardon. Mertz pressured, stepped up. He's able to dump it off for a completion out of the backfield. Jacoby Jackson making the catch and getting it back out to the original line of scrimmage.
I think that's one of the things that Graham Mertz does really well. He has great pocket awareness. That time stepped up, bought himself a little bit of extra time, and found his back out of the backfield. Free rusher. Yeah, he would have been dead there. Catching one in the back of the head is not ideal, but at least the awareness to be able to step up in that situation is something I think Graham Mertz does pretty well as a whole.
That was TJ Searcy, whose coaches told us yesterday he is all football all the time. Really has improved. Searcy, number 19, sophomore from Thomaston, Georgia. 26 tackles a year ago. So they did go with another penalty and moved it back to the 2-yard line.
Trying to make it difficult on Graham.
I guess they called it a sack after all. Not a lot of plays in the playbook for 2nd and 28.
even fewer for 3rd and 25.
Is this going to be that shot play you wanted earlier?
No.
3 minutes left in the orange and blue game.
You know what we would have done, Coach Spurrier, 5 wide. 5 wide from the 5-yard line, throw the ball down the field.
Quick throw instead. And Trey Wilson with another catch in the ball game. He's had a big day today.
Gonna have a big year. I mean, he's the focal point of the offense. They do a great job of getting him the ball in a lot of creative ways, but definitely gonna need somebody to step up around him. It's been nice to see Khalil Jackson do a great job today. Spirito has contributed as well. But I do think that some of those young guys, like Mizell, who had a touchdown earlier, Andy Jean, haven't seen much from him today. Tank Hawkins brings that fast speed. These guys as a whole need to step up their production as a group more than they did last year. It was all about Ricky Pearsall with a little compliment from Trey Wilson, but they need more of an effort from the entirety of the room.
Driving spiral that will be fielded with no return at the 38 by Aaron Gates. We were told coming in that Andy Jean is one that would not play today. He's been a little bit banged up. 53-yard punt that time with no return. So we've talked a little bit about the schedule coming.
It was tough. The physical, cumulative effects, the mental grind. Now it becomes even more difficult with Texas and Oklahoma joining in.
DJ Lagway has to throw that one away. Has defense dialed up anything different in the second half? Feels like they've gotten a little bit more pressure throughout this 3rd and 4th quarter.
Yeah, I think they're winning a little bit more up front, and that's part of the improvement of the defensive line that you talked about. They've given the opposing offensive lines difficulty with penetration, kind of disrupting some of the run game.
Lagway with the pump fake, and then he takes off, and they blow it dead. Billy Napier signals for a timeout and says he wants the ball spotted at the 33-yard line. I don't know, you blow that one dead?
It looked like could have taken some liberties there, trying to set up the blue team to have an offensive 2-minute drill for Graham Mertz at the end, maybe?
Maybe so. A minute 39 remaining. Quincy Ivory and George Gums were the two that got the pressure there. Gator defense gave up 422 yards combined in the first half. And the second half, just 174. See some of the numbers from the game today. Graham Mertz, touchdown and a pick. DJ Lagway, a couple of touchdowns and 1 interception as well. And Trey Wilson, a monster day. 8 catches for $128 and a score.
Always difficult to tell in a spring game or inter-squad game. Hey, is it the offense doing poorly? Is it the defense doing well? Probably a little bit of mix of both. But you know, I'm happy as a former Florida guy to see that the defense was able to make some adjustments. They gave up some big plays early in the first half. I think they've tackled better here in the second half and certainly have defended some of those deeper throws a little bit better.
Compared to a year ago, also an offensive explosion.
Last year was brutal. I called the game last year, and it was an absolute grind, but did come down to an exciting finish. Maybe we'll get one of those today as well.
3rd down and 14. DJ Lagway steps away from the pressure, lets it fly, and that ball is caught on the sideline, but short of the first down. Mizell, who has a touchdown catch today, hauled that one in.
Some more pressure off the backside there. Looked like Gums again lobbying for the play to be blown dead. And looks like he won that argument.
Oh, they're going to go back and mark him down, so he got a hand on him. Foot might have been out of bounds
anyway. I'm not sure he
anyway.
caught that ball in bounds.
Did you see just kind of the flick of the wrist there from Lagway? That was not an easy throw, and he put it on the money.
Yeah, rolling against his body there as a right-handed quarterback. Like you said, Has a lot of pop when it comes out of his hand there, and the accuracy's been pretty good today as well.
Hunter Smith punts it away. Fair catch called for. And so the Blue offense will have one last chance after a 48-yard punt with no return. A minute 24 remaining, and we'll see those competitive juices one more time from Graham Mertz.
Does it make me a bad guy that I'm cheering for the Blue offense here to put a drive together? That's probably not what makes me a bad guy, but
I mean, as I say, the list is long and distinguished, but no, it doesn't make you a bad guy because what you're looking for an exciting finish.
got to see some excitement here down the stretch, and wait for Graham to signal that he's taking a shot for me. He promised me.
You think that's what's in his head right
No,
now?
I don't think so. I hope not.
Mertz with time. Trying to get that one to Trey Wilson. Had to drop it in a bucket. Pretty good coverage there by the
great
Orange
coverage.
team secondary.
You saw the Blue team get to the bunch formation, tried to play little levels there. Mertz probably should have taken the underneath throw as the outside flat defender dropped back underneath that throw to Wilson. Trying to make a play downfield, though.
I got a polarizing question for you after
Sure.
this play. 2nd and 10. Mertz incomplete. All right, so we've got the Blue team in blue jerseys with the white pants. We got the Orange team rocking the orange pants with the white jerseys. So what is the best uniform combination for Florida? Because there certainly are some options.
Well, I'm a traditionalist.
Okay.
You know, I grew up here. Florida wore the orange jerseys when Coach Spurrier came in 1990. They went back to the blue jerseys that he played in when he was a player here. I like this traditional orange helmet, blue jersey, white pant combination. I do like when we went on the road, though, I do like the orange pants with the white jerseys.
This one may have been batted at the line. It was intended for Boardingham. How about the defense rising up? You wanted to see a big, exciting finish for the offense, but the defense here for the Orange team making some plays. I think that makes Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts and the rest of that defensive staff happy.
6 total sacks combined today on the afternoon for the Florida defenses. So been able to have some success. Again, I don't know if that's because the defensive line has done a great job or the offensive line has struggled. Probably, again, some of both. But looks like this thing going to be ended here as Florida's Blue team about to punt.
So 1:06 to play. Yeah, the initial reaction made me think that they were done.
You saw the celebration from the Orange team, right? Thinking they got the Jays secured.
So the Blue team will punt it away one more time.
Do you think there'll be any lobbying by the Blue team, given the fact that the Orange was staked with 3 points from something that happened in the practice week?
I'm sure there will be. But I don't think that means that they're not eating hot dogs tonight.
I'll say this, though. The Blue team does have all 3 timeouts, though, RC. So maybe the chance for Graham Mertz to get the ball back to get those Jays.
Not going to have a lot of time, even if they use all 3 timeouts.
Give me some of that Mississippi math.
I mean, if you get 3 stops, you can get the ball back. I'm just saying, if you do, it won't be with much left.
I see you're thinking hard. Look at you.
DJ Lagway, 163 yards, couple of touchdowns today. So what, if you say 4 seconds of play plus a timeout, you just assume that's about 15 seconds off the clock. So that gets you down to 43. Or they just go to the air.
They're getting their money's worth today on offense.
No doubt. Tony Livingston, the tight end on the catch, part of that tight end room, a sophomore from Tampa and King High School. Mostly a special teams player a year ago.
Lagway said, let me go win this thing.
Clock did stop on the out of bounds, which means Blue didn't have to burn a timeout.
Blue team bringing the blitz. Nice job by DJ Lagway there, recognizing the blitz, getting it out to his hot route outlet there as the back to the flat.
All right, that Mississippi math for you. That first down, the math doesn't work for the blue team to get the ball back.
Done.
Put a fork in the hot dog.
Unless they turn the ball over because they continue to be aggressive.
It'd be very Steve Spurrier-like of Billy Napier if they keep throwing it up a point with 47 seconds left. But here we go. Lagway touchdown on the play. And a timeout taken by Billy Napier. Brian Taylor Jr. off the edge.
I don't know if he makes that play in a real game, you know? Up the field, trying to come back against Lagway, who, I don't know if you had a chance to see him in person. Dude is thick. Got some big legs, strong upper body.
6'3", 241.
Again, a guy playing high school football a few months ago. Should be going to prom here in a couple weeks.
It still is a little surprising when you look at how physically ready some guys are in making the transition from high school football, albeit high school football in Texas is huge. Strength programs in high school more advanced than they've ever been.
Yeah,
but still.
I think high school kids come in physically more ready than they did before, and I think a lot the proliferation of the 7-on-7 stuff. I don't know that it helps quarterbacks, but I think it really helps receivers come in more game ready than they ever were before coming out of high school.
I think we just added 3 seconds back to the clock. So 40 seconds remaining. 2nd and 13 coming. It's KD Daniels that motioned into the backfield. Lagway buying time with his feet and runs out of bounds to stop the clock.
Looked like a hold there off the right side of the defense. The defenders.
I feel like you're actively cheering for the blue team now.
I want to see an exciting ending here. I want to see if Mertz and that offense can make a play late. Yeah, see the hold there. Right on the right side of your screen. Looked like a little hog tying, right?
Lagway, incomplete. We are getting closer and closer to that season opener against Miami that's going to be right here in the Swamp. What kind of an atmosphere will that be?
Nothing like the hate that Florida and Miami have for one another. When I grew up here, this was one of the great rivalries in all of college football. Unfortunately, in the 90s, the game went away. There's only been a handful of those games played between the two interstate rivals, but I'll say this, the disdain has not dwindled at all between those two fan bases, so it's going to be an exciting one here on August 31st.
Shanked punt, so going to have pretty good field position, and maybe Chris Doering will get his wish with a big finish for the offense. Graham Mertz trying to rally the guys.
String pulling to make this kind of an exciting finish for the blue team.
26-yard punt. .22 seconds to play. Career-long field goal, by the way, for Trey Smack is 54 yards. Came against Charlotte a year ago.
You can kick it.
He has made 3 field goals in the game. We just got the announcement from our referee, Kyle Olson, that both teams will have 2 timeouts remaining. So what, need to get to about the 37-yard line? That pass is caught. What a catch. That was Trayon Webb. Sharif Denson with the big hit, but Webb was able to hang on. Ball a little bit behind him, bobbled it around and hauled it in.
Yeah, it's a running back making that catch too. Ball behind, as you mentioned, getting hit as he's trying to secure the football. Nice job bringing it in for the first down.
So timeout stops the clock with 14 seconds to go. You get to the 35-yard line, you're looking at about a 52-yard field goal. So the 37 would be the distance that would match Trey Smack's career long. He was a Lou Groza semifinalist last year. Made 17 of 21 field goals on the season. So full-on situational here. Only one timeout remaining for the blue team. Got to be a route toward the sideline to try and get out of bounds, right?
Not necessarily. You got one timeout, right? You could throw it in the middle of the field.
You might want that to set your field goal team up.
Nah, you could throw it to the sideline later on.
Okay.
They've had success throwing to the middle of the field today so far. Both offenses have.
Mertz with time over the middle of the field. That ball's caught. That is in field goal range. DK on the catch. The transfer from Wisconsin.
DK might have got away with a little bit of a push there.
18-yard gain.
Those two teammates, former teammates at Wisconsin, hooking up for the big gain. Florida, the blue team. Graham Mertz spikes the ball.
Mertz was ready to take a timeout. I think Billy Napier was telling him to go spike the ball. They ended up taking the timeout. 7 seconds on the clock. Graham Mertz with a couple of completions on this final drive, trying to set the blue team up for a game-winning field goal. He's 14 of 26 for 222 and a touchdown. DJ Lagway making his debut in the Swamp, 173 yards, couple of touchdowns. Both QBs have thrown one interception today.
Yeah, Florida mismanaged the late game situation against Arkansas last year. The one thing that I did see from Graham Mertz is his great awareness in that ball game. He knew exactly what to do. Got messed up a little bit from the sideline. That time again, Mertz knew exactly what to do. So that's what that leadership and experience brings to you.
No timeouts remaining for the blue team. They throw it over the middle of the field. It will stop with the first down. On the catch that time was the tight end Arliss Boardingham. They've got to spike the ball. Mertz does that out of the shotgun with 1 second left on the clock.
See, I don't know if you can get that off in a real game.
The orange team is protesting. The head coach tends to have the liberty to make decisions as he wants.
That literally was the same exact situation as the Arkansas game. Throwing the ball late over the middle of the field to Boardingham. Again, I don't know if you have the ability to get that off in a real game. Obviously some liberties that can be taken here.
The orange team's mad. You just heard the announcement from our referee, Kyle Olson, to please reset the game clock to 2 seconds. Austin Armstrong can't believe it.
They better be giving J's to everybody, because definitely some questionable officiating here at the end.
All right, so Trey Smack, who is 3 for 3 today with makes from 31, 38, and 39, will try here from 37 yards to give the blue team a win on the final play, we think, of the orange and blue game. Oh, but we got to ice the kicker first.
As you said, creeping closer to August 31st.
That opening weekend with some marquee games. Florida-Miami, certainly one of them. You've got Georgia and Clemson meeting in Atlanta. Trey Smack, one of the better kickers in the SEC. He was 2 of 3 from beyond 50 yards a year ago. This is a 37-yard try. He did not miss in this range last season and has not missed in this range today. So again, we think the final play of the Florida spring game. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on the way, and it is good. And it is a walk-off win for the blue team. Trey Smack splits the uprights. And they get the 3 points at the end that were gifted to the Orange team from their work at practice earlier this week.